that glorious day when all shall be present with God. It is a comforting passage because it lets us know that having been washed in the blood of the Lamb, a white robe awaits us. And it is also comforting because it reminds us that our loved ones are currently robed in those white robes, where they are experiencing the joy of being in the Lord's presence, where they hunger and thirst no more, where the heat of the sun can no longer strike them with scorching heat. This is possibly a metaphor for hell, and where the Lamb will lead them to the springs of the water of life, as God wipes away every tear. To me, it is comforting to know that my loved ones who have joined these saints robed in white are experiencing this joy of being in the presence of the Lord forever. This is especially true on this All Saints Sunday as we commemorate all those saints who have touched our lives in deeply intimate and life-giving ways. And like I said, this text also gives us hope that we too will one day join these white-robed saints, having survived the great ordeal of life, a life that is full of challenges and sufferings that we can never avoid no matter how hard we try. But what is good news is that knowing that we too are washed in this blood of the Lamb through the font, as we were baptized into the death and resurrection of Christ, that we too will join those white-robed saints when all is said and done. For many of us, it is this hope of joining the white robe, this hope of being reunited with our loved ones that keeps us going in faithfulness and living out life here in our broken world. And while this hope is a powerful motivator to continue running the race, as St. Paul would say, has it blinded us? Are we spending too much time looking towards the next life, that we are missing God's call to act here and now in this life? You see, while we will always have this hope for the next life of being these white-robed saints with Christ, for Christ has promised us through his death and resurrection on the cross that death has indeed been defeated, and death no longer has the power to separate us from God. But the fact of the matter is that we also live here and now. And because of this duality of living here and now and hoping for tomorrow, we live in this age of resurrection, this age that Lutheran theologians often call the already and the not yet. What this means is that we believe that we live in the age of God's commonwealth now, that we fully believe that God has redeemed the world and that it is currently here and now with us. But yet, we also believe that it has not been fully revealed to us. As we are reminded in our 1 John reading today, we are God's children now, and yet what we will be has not been revealed. And that is because there are so many still in the world that do not know the good news of Jesus Christ. There are so many that still live under the powers of fear, the powers of sin and death, and do not feel truly free. So it has not yet been fully revealed here and now. But I have to wonder if most of us Christians aren't living in the here and now, but are just focusing solely on the not yet, awaiting our call to our true home forgetting about the fact that God is working here and now. The good news is active now. God's actions of redemption are happening now, as they have been throughout time and space, with each generation of people since that all-important day of Christ's death on the cross, when he flipped the world upside down. That day when God brought about the full redemption of the world and freed all of humanity from living in the shadow of sin and death. Christ on the cross has brought about God's commonwealth upon the earth, and we are free to live as God's children now. Children who can live in a way that gives life to the world. Children who get to go out and proclaim the good news. You are free. You don't have to live in the power of fear. You don't have to let the downs, you don't have to let what's happening in this world be the defining reality of who we truly are. War does not define us. Political turmoil does not define us. Shootings do not define us. Racism does not define us. We are defined by God and God's love for us. But often due to this brokenness of the world and our own struggle living in it, our own feelings of inadequacy, our own feelings of failures and faults, our own feelings of unworthiness, we can easily forget that we have been freed from sin and death. We can forget that God has freed us to live differently in the world so that all may come to understand this promise of the here and now as we await the not yet. The promise we are the white-robed saints now. And we will be until that day when the fullness of the freedom of God's royal reign does come into being. Sometimes I wonder if we as Christians really believe that God has indeed freed us already. The way we live this day and age as the church, and that is the Big C church, it could suggest to anyone on the outside that we would rather just passively sit things out until the end of the days when God calls us home. And while we still cling to the truth that we have been indeed robed and white, and God will indeed call us home when all is said and done, that does not bring much hope to a world and a people who are suffering now, who are looking for something now to bring about the life-giving change that they desperately want and need, the powerful and transforming knowledge that God loves them, that God has died for them, that God has promised a robe for them, that the only thing that truly defines them in this world is the same thing that truly defines us, beloved child of God. Maybe it's because we're tired. Maybe it's because we feel that we've put in our time and now it should be someone else's turn. Maybe it's because we feel too unworthy or unqualified. Maybe we are struggling with our own faith, that it is hard to think about living out in day-to-day faithful living. Maybe we're just too embarrassed to ask for the help. Maybe we feel too broken and too overwhelmed. Whatever the reason, we aren't living up to that white-robed sainthood that God has already given to us. We aren't living as the truly free children of God who are encouraged and inspired by God's immense love to live out the good news each and every day in all aspects of our lives, including our faith community, so that all the world may come to know this sainthood that God has blessed us with. But you know what? Being a Christian is tough. Living out our faith every day in all aspects of life is challenging because we are broken people. As much as we want to call ourselves saints, we must also recognize how much we are sinners at the same time. Martin Luther had an expression for this: Simo utis et peccator, simultaneously sinner and saint. Because we can be sinners at times who don't care enough. We can be sinners at times who become too passive. We can be sinners at times who can choose to stay in the comfortable and familiar instead of following God through the unknown wilderness, even though God is saying to us, "Come and follow me." But the good news is that in spite of the ways that we fall short to living into this freedom of God, into the sainthood that God has given us, the freedom from sin and death, Jesus reminds us today in our gospel reading that we are still blessed. That we are indeed saints just as much as we are sinners. Jesus promises us that if we are poor in spirit, we are still forgiven. And we are included in the kingdom of heaven. If we are broken and mournful that God doesn't love us, we are still forgiven and we are comforted and reminded that we are children of God. If we are meek because we are overly worried about offending someone that keeps us silent in our faith, we are forgiven and we are promised to be inheritors of the earth. If we are hungry and thirsty because we have turned to false idols to fill our spirits, we are forgiven and we are filled with God's love. If we are scared to act because we are worried that we will be persecuted, ridiculed, reviled, unaccepted, and rejected, we are forgiven. God still gives us a great reward. Part of taking on the sainthood that has been given to us by God through Christ on the cross, a sainthood, by the way, that can never be removed no matter what we've done or failed to do in our lives. Part of taking on the sainthood is remembering that what keeps us believing in this age here and now, as we hold on to the hope of tomorrow, is the fact that God grants us this daily gift of forgiveness. That we are washed clean each and every day and don't have to live the same way from day to day, because that washing through baptism frees us. You may have wondered why I sprinkled you with water today. It is to help you to remember that you were sprinkled with the waters of baptism and that you are freed through that washing. It frees us to let go of our fears. It frees us to let go of the uncertainty. It frees us to let go of our thoughts of inadequacy. So that we can feel free to live out this faith, this wonderful faith of God's love, and we can go out and share the good news to the world so that it too comes to realize that it has been freed. Yes, we won't be perfect at it, and yes, we will make mistakes and we will screw up. But we are free to trust that God has claimed us as children now, that God loves us here and now. And that God, because of God's love, will continue to wash us in those waters of baptism so that we can live free from sin and death. So that we can indeed work with God on bringing about the full redemption of all people to the world. After all, that is what our loved ones did. Even if it went unnoticed by most. Even if they weren't what society would think of as a saint. The truth is that they transformed the world through their actions of love and kindness. They transformed our worlds through the things they did to show us how much they love and care. Their words, their actions proclaimed the good news of Jesus and his sainthood that we celebrate today. And so, we give thanks today for these wonderful loved ones of ours. We give thanks for their witness. We give thanks for their love. But Let us also remember that God has indeed saved all of us. That God has indeed called us to share God's love in the world so that all may come to know that they too are robed in white. For what a celebration it will be when all are in the court of God, when all are giving thanks to God day and night, when we are reunited with our loved ones in the joy of the Lord. But until that day, thanks be to God that we can actually start the party here and now, because we are saints here and now, because we have been free to live here and now while we anxiously await the joy of tomorrow. So how will we continue the party? How will we live out this sainthood in all aspects of our lives? How will we let the world know that they too